Hey everyone, happy Monday. Today in our language arts lesson, we are going to take a look at making inferences. So before we get started with our lesson, we need to think about what is an inference? Well, an inference is a guess based upon reasoning, and it allows you to figure out information that might be missing in a text or a picture. You might not realize that we make inferences every day. We are constantly looking at a situation, reading a piece of information, and making our own inferences. For example, say this morning you got up and you went to get a bowl of cereal, okay? However, there was no milk. Well, you can make an inference that your mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever will need to go to the store soon. Maybe later this afternoon, you go into your kitchen and you notice that the floor is all wet and kind of sparkly. Well, you can make an inference that someone recently cleaned the floors. Maybe you had a vase of flowers that were out in your living room. Later on this week, you look in and you see that all the flowers have died. You can make an inference that someone forgot to change the water or someone didn't water the plants. No one is telling you this. No one is telling you, hey, we're out of milk. I need to go to the store today. You are making observations, then thinking about what you know and making your own inferences. Inferences happen constantly in our world. However, today we are going to go over a simple equation or a simple method that you can use to make your own inferences. So this is how we make our inferences. The first thing, you want to think about what you read or what you see. So in the examples I just gave you, this was something that you were actually looking at, right? But you can make inferences in your stories all the time. Then you want to think, well, what do you know about that? So think back to our floor example. Well, I know that the floor is all wet and I know that it looks sparkly. Okay. Well, I know that when the floor is normally wet after my dad's Swiffers. Then you take all that information and you make an inference. So you take what you read or what you see, you add that to what you know about the topic, then you make your inference. Let's take a look at an example in Rachel Carson. So last week, we read the first chapter in Rachel Carson, and we did some background information about her the week before. So something that we read is that Rachel Carson is an ecologist. Then we want to add that to what we know. An ecologist is someone who studies the environment. So you take that Rachel Carson's an ecologist, you take what an ecologist does, you add that together, and you can come to the conclusion or the inference that Rachel Carson cares about the environment. Maybe early on we didn't read that. Nowhere did it say, in the beginning that Rachel Carson cares about the environment before we read the story, but we're taking that information and we're making an inference. So, what we're going to do now is some practice. I am going to play some videos that I filmed around my house, and then we're going to take a look at, well, what can we infer is happening in this area of my home? Let's get started with the first video. Let's take a look here at this computer screen. So if I walked into this room, what can I inference is going on? Well, let's take a look at some of the clues. So first of all, the computer screen says it's a Google page and it says parts of speech review game. And then there's all the choices that pop up. If I pan out a little bit, I'm going to notice there's a Post-it that says don't forget to study. And if I pan out a little more, I notice there's a notebook there with a highlighter. There's a sentence, the cat walked by the bench. There's a Post-it that says nouns, pronoun, and then there's some highlighters. So I want you guys to think about, what do you think this is all about? So take a moment and think about what is going on here. So let's take a look at that. So if you were to walk into that room, no one's there telling you what's going on, but use our inferencing skills and let's make a guess. You have one? Let's take a look at mine. So I'm taking a look at what I see, okay? Well, what do I see? I see a computer. I see parts of speech was Googled. I see a notebook, and I see a reminder about a test. Now, let me think about what I know about this. Well, I know that people use the internet to study. So, someone is studying for a parts of speech test. Now, the inference you came up with very well could have been different from mine, and that's okay. That's the beauty of inferences. Now, if you said, well, I think that someone is researching a trip to the Bahamas, I would want you to go back and take another look at that. Your inferences has to be based upon the information that you see. Let's take a look at another example, all right? All right, if I come into my kitchen, let's see if we can make an inference here. So let's look at all the materials that are out. We have flour, eggs, chocolate chips. We also have a measuring cup. We also have a cookbook here. And if I turn the cookbook, I'm going to notice that this chapter 7 about desserts, is dog-eared. So what do you think is going to be happening in the kitchen later? Take a minute and make your inference. All right. So we took a look into my kitchen and we had some materials out. So I want you guys to think about, well, what's going on in the kitchen? There's no one there to tell you. You have to make your inference. So let's take a look at what we see. We see flour. We see eggs. We see a measuring cup. We see chocolate chips and a cookbook. And in the cookbook, we know that the highlighted page was all about desserts. Well, think, what do I know? Well, I know that chocolate chip cookies are a type of dessert. So I add that information together and I can make the inference that someone is making chocolate chip cookies. Now, your inference could have been different. Maybe you thought someone is making chocolate chip muffins. It's still along the same page. Now, if you said that someone's making bacon, well, that wouldn't make any sense because nowhere is there anything that has bacon or any, talks of breakfast. So you have to make your inference based off of the information that you see. Today, you guys are going to be making your own inferences. So after you viewed our lesson today, I want you to go into your Google Classroom and open up the part that says Inference Digital Task Cards. That is your task for me today. There are 3 problems you are going to be doing. Each problem has a different picture, and you are going to need to answer the following questions. What can you infer from the picture, and why do you think that? So I want you to take a look at the picture, and then I want you to identify an inference. What do you think is happening in the picture? Then, in the part where it says, why do you think that, you're going to support your inference, okay? You are going to think why. Make sure you use correct spelling, grammar, capitalization, and punctuation, okay? I really want to see some great sentences being formed. The first one, boys and girls, is done for you, okay? So you will do 3 inferences for me. You'll do inference 2, inference 3, and inference 4. But make sure you take a look at inference 1 and see what I came up with. Again, don't be so concerned that your inference is going to be exactly the same exact thing that I came up with. It's okay if it's not. What I'm looking for is, does your inference make sense based off what's going on in the picture? Are you writing in complete sentences? And are you supporting your inference with details from the picture? I can't wait to read your inferences and see what you guys came up with. If you have any questions, feel free to message me or email me. Good luck, guys. I can't wait to see what we come up with.